Hello everyone and welcome to the third video of the Alien Shooter tutorial, where we'll be basically finishing up the basics of our game, the Meteor, right? So the score will change, the lives will change. It won't be a complete game, but the functionality of the game will work. Now, let's hop right into it. We are in our backdrops right now, and we have two functions, game over and initialize game. We've done this a lot already, so, take a moment, try to guess what each one does. Well, initialize game should be obvious. We always had these initialize, game, initialize ship. Initialize game will go right there. And then game over is probably, if you think about it, we're going to check when the game is over, right? And there's two possible scenarios. Either the player wins or the player loses. The lives are 0 or the score reaches a certain amount. So we will go into a forever loop and we'd say game over. Let's take a look at each function. First is our initialize game function, and we do basically what you guys expect us to do, right? Or me to do. We set the lives to 3, we set the score to 0. Lives could be 5 depending on what you want. And then this one thing right here is because later on we're probably going to add like a win/lose backdrop once we reach a certain point. So when we start the game again, we want to switch the backdrop back to, Galaxy, the place where we're fighting. The game over function is pretty new, so let's take a look at that as well. Okay, so here's the game over function. And as you can see, we are using some broadcasts. So again, if you don't remember what those are, go back to the events video, check them out. My co-tutor Samarth teaches them pretty well. So we have two if statements right here. And remember, this is being checked on forever. If the score is equal to 50, then we have to broadcast player wins. That actually doesn't do anything yet. I'll do something next time, right? But we're just setting it up now. And then if lives equals 0, then the player loses. So we have two different scenarios here that we're checking for. Okay, this is the simple, backdrop, initialize game setup for our game. Let's take a look at the meat of this lesson, which is the meteor. Okay, so let's take a look at that. Here is the meteor code that we have right now. And as you can see, we have two functions, initialize meteor and fall down. Okay, fall down is pretty obvious. We're going to make the meteor fall down. But this is actually going to be the chunkiest function, chunkiest piece of code that we've had so far. Okay, so make sure you pay attention. First of all, initialize meteor, 2 blocks, very self-explanatory. First, we hide the original meteor, right? Because we're going to be creating clones again. And then we're going to set the alien speed to 5. 10 was actually a bit too fast. I tested it out, so we're going to set it to 5. And the numbers are all up to you, whichever numbers make you feel good. So we're going to set it to 5 for now. Okay? So, when start is clicked, we initialize the meteor. But we also want to create a clone of the meteor to start off with, right? Because we need something to kickstart the loop, where we create a meteor, and when that meteor dies, we create another meteor, right? So let's kickstart that by creating a clone of ourselves. And then whenever we create a clone, whenever I start as clone, what are we going to do? Well, first we want to show, right? We want to show the meteor. We also want to move it, to the top here. It'll start somewhere randomly up at the top. Random X position, but the same Y position. Okay, so how do we do that? Well, let's use the go-to. I think the Y position should be 150 or 160, somewhere around there. I think, yeah, 160 looks good. And then the X should be a random number from, let's see. Right here is 215. I think 215 is a good number. Let's do 215. Or negative 215 to 215, and I think that's good. And then we finally, once we've initialized these basic parameters, we fall down. Now this is the meat of the lesson. So again, make sure you pay attention. Let's take a look at the fall down function. Wow, that's a big function, as you can see. Bigger than the shoot bullet function that we had right here. So let's break this up into chunks. Okay, so I'm going to use something called a comment, and you might have seen me use this before, and I'm going to just type everything out. Okay, so we have a huge forever loop right here, right? So we have a change y by, a huge if statement, and another huge if statement. So let's break this apart. So first, in the so we have a forever loop. In a forever loop, 1, we constantly move down, right? Because we changing the alien speed by alien speed times -1, which means we go down. Okay. If we are touching the lasers, right? As you can see, we do a few things. Okay. First, change score by 1. This is important, right? Because we didn't do this in the lasers, but we do it here. We change score by 1, increase the score by 1. You know, play the sounds, create a clone. Oh yeah, that's important. Create another clone, and the other clone, once it's destroyed, remember, we start as a clone, we go to a random position, and we fall down again. Create another clone, and then broadcast a collision message to the lasers. What does this mean? We are broadcasting a collision message to the lasers. Why are we doing this? There's a huge important reason why we are doing this, and I will show you that in a bit. Okay, and then 3. This one is pretty easy. If we reach the ceiling is like at the bottom. If the y position is, you know, less than -160, ceiling, we lose a life. Create another clone again, and then delete ourselves. Yes, we delete ourselves from existence. Okay, so you can read this kind of like a sentence. Forever, we are changing the y, we're basically moving down, and then we are checking to see if we're touching the lasers. If we touch the lasers, we play the sound boom, change the score by 1, broadcast this collision message, create another clone of ourselves, and then delete, you know, the existing clone. So we're basically restarting once we've, you know, killed a meteorite. But if the meteorite goes down here, then we actually lose a life. Again, create a clone, so the next meteorite starts, and then we delete the existing clone. Hopefully that makes sense. Okay. Make sure that makes sense. Now let's play the game right now, and the game should be working. Okay. So as you can see, the meteor is moving down. We're losing lives. You know, and it's making the sound. Oh wait. Okay, so it's working. Wait a second. Do you see that? It's not working. Why is it not working? You might be thinking this might have something to do with this broadcast right here. And you're right. We didn't touch the lasers code yet. We just added a broadcast. The broadcast doesn't do anything. The problem is, okay, hear me out. The problem is that when the lasers right here, when the lasers touch the meteorite, it deletes itself. And since it deletes itself, this touching lasers, it doesn't happen instantly, right? One happens faster than the other sometimes, and the other happens faster than another. You know, it's very random. But we need to make sure that one always happens before the other. So we're gonna make it so that first the meteorite disappears, makes it sound, right? And then we're gonna broadcast collided with meteorite to the bullet, right? And we're gonna be changing a few things here, right? So if y position is greater than 160, then we delete the clone. That's obvious. And then when I receive the collider with meteor, that's when I also delete the clone. Okay, so remember, before we had two statements, right? If the y position is greater than 160, or if we collided with the meteorite, then we delete the clone. We've basically broken these up into two different statements right here. And now, we'll never have a case where we'll miss the meteorite, as you can see. And this is our full game. If you have any questions, please ask. I'm gonna be showing you how to create, the losing/winning screen in a bit. So that's it for this video. I'll see you.